Hey guys, Jonty here. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I want to answer a question that I get asked all the time. Should I meditate? Should I journal? Should I just get on with my life, not meditate and journal? Or do I need to do all three if I want to heal chronic symptoms? Because if you're trying to heal symptoms using a mind-body approach, the approach I speak about on this channel, you've probably heard completely different advice from lots of different practitioners. Some people say, don't do anything, just get back to your life, there's nothing wrong with you. Other people say, no, you need to journal because you've got unresolved emotions that you need to express and validate. Then there are people that say, actually, journaling is too intellectual. You need meditation. Symptoms are showing up in the body because you need to learn how to feel emotions in the body. And honestly, I've seen people improve with all three approaches. I've seen people get better by simply getting back to life. I've seen people get incredible relief through journaling, and I've seen people completely transform through meditation and learning how to allow emotions. So in this video, I don't want to tell you that one of these approaches is right and the others are wrong. I want to help you understand what each of these tools is actually trying to do, why they can all be valuable, and why the better question isn't which one is right. The better question is, what does my nervous system need from me right now at different stages? And I know maybe you're watching this thinking, Jonty, please just tell me one thing to do and I'll do it. I completely get that. When you're in pain, when you're exhausted, when symptoms have taken over your life, you don't want nuance. You want someone to say, do this and you'll get better. But often, what we're really learning in this process is not how to follow one perfect tool forever. We're learning how to use these tools when we need them, step back from them when we don't need them, and become more flexible in how we respond to ourselves. So it's all about flexibility and adaptability, which is why support, guidance, and community can become so important, because sometimes it's really hard to know by yourself whether you need to meditate more, journal more, rest more, get back to life more, or simply stop trying to fix yourself for a little while. Before we get into that, I also want to acknowledge that this conversation isn't just about meditation and journaling. A lot of people ask me things like, should I stop my physio? Should I still stretch? Should I keep going to the gym? Should I have acupuncture? Should I take medication? There are so many different opinions in the mind-body world about what we should and shouldn't be doing at different stages. So it's no wonder people end up feeling overwhelmed and wondering whether they're accidentally getting their recovery wrong or stunting their progress somehow. Personally, I don't think there are many universal rules. I don't think everybody should stop all physical treatments, and I don't think everybody should continue all physical treatments either. I think it depends, again, on where you're at in your recovery process. For some people, stepping away from physical treatments for a while can be incredibly helpful because it allows them to fully embrace the idea that their symptoms aren't being maintained by structural damage. For someone else, continuing with yoga, stretching, physio, acupuncture, or even medication might be exactly what's needed to give them enough stability to keep moving forwards. For me, the question usually isn't whether these things are good or bad. It's about understanding your relationship with them. Are they supporting your recovery? Or have they become another way of trying to control every sensation that you experience? That's a very different question. And it's one of the reasons I believe support and guidance can be so valuable, so you understand what that question means and how to answer it. The answer is rarely the same for everybody because we're all at different stages of our healing, so it depends on the person. Today, though, I want to stay focused on the three approaches that probably create the most confusion in the mind-body world: meditation, journaling, and the idea of simply getting back to life and not doing meditation and journaling. And I'll approach those other things in another video. As always, I'm going to go through this subject by answering a series of questions. So, question number one is, do I need to meditate or journal to heal chronic symptoms? I think the best answer to this is meditation and journaling are amazing tools. They're probably some of the best tools we currently have alongside therapy for helping people acknowledge, validate, and safely experience emotions that they may have spent most of their lives pushing away. Because so many of us have been trained to just get on with things. Be kind, be civil, be the reliable one, don't make a fuss, don't upset anyone, hold it together. And whilst those things can help us function in everyday life, they can also mean that a lot of feelings never really get acknowledged and felt in the body. So journaling can help us finally put words to those feelings, and meditation can help us finally feel those feelings in the body. Therapy can help us understand and support the parts of us that are carrying them. I don't want to downplay these tools at all because they can be incredibly powerful, but the extent to which you need them is debatable depending on where you're at in your healing process. If you're very early on in this work, there can be huge value in learning these tools and experimenting with them consistently. You don't yet know what is going to land for you. You don't yet know whether journaling helps you become more honest with yourself or it's going to keep you stuck in your head. You don't know, so you might as well try. You don't yet know whether meditation helps you reconnect with the body or whether it currently feels too confronting to be in the body. You don't yet know whether getting back to life feels supportive or whether you're trying to force yourself to go back to life too quickly before really sitting with what is. So at the beginning, there's real value in learning the tools and giving yourself permission to experiment with what could work for you. The mistake people often make is that they turn these practices into another healing job. They think if I meditate perfectly, I'll get better. If I journal perfectly, I'll get better. If I never miss a day, I'll finally be safe. And before long, meditation and journaling can become another way of controlling symptoms. Sounds far-fetched, I know, but it happens to a lot of people. If you're treating meditation and journaling in the same way that you used to treat symptoms, then you're still trying to control everything. You're still trying to get certainty. You're still trying to make sure you're doing everything right. And that can keep you going round and round in circles, because the objective of using these tools, of course, is to get better. Of course it is. Otherwise, we wouldn't use them in the first place. So we're meditating and journaling to get better. But once you're actually inside the meditation or inside the journaling, the intention completely changes. When you're actually meditating, the practice isn't, how do I get rid of this fear? It's, can this fear be here in the body? How is it showing up for me? When you're journaling, the practice isn't, how do I write the perfect thing that finally fixes me? It's, can I be honest about what's actually here, even if it's messy, even if it's that I hate journaling? If uncertainty is here, that can be here. If fear is here, that can be here. If numbness is there, numbness can be here. If boredom is here, boredom can be in the body. If nothing seems to be happening, that's okay. If things suddenly become intense, that's okay too. If they stay the same, that's okay. The practice isn't about creating the perfect experience. It's about learning that your experience doesn't need to be controlled all the time. It's such an important point. By learning to become less controlling inside your meditation and inside your journaling, you also start to become less controlling about your meditation and your journaling. I want you to really hear that. By learning to let go of control within the practice, letting go of controlling the outcome, you gradually become less controlling of the practice itself. So instead of thinking I have to meditate every day or I'm screwed, it becomes, maybe meditation would help me today. I often tell people 5 days a week instead of 7. Or actually, I think I need to rest today. Or I think journaling would help me get honest with myself today. Or I've done enough inner work this week and I need to go and live my life this weekend. That's the real skill that we're trying to develop. Not becoming someone who meditates perfectly, who journals perfectly, but becoming someone who can listen to what they need and respond to themselves with flexibility. That's question number 1. Question number 2. Why do different practitioners recommend completely different things? I think there are 2 reasons for this. There's probably more than 2 reasons, but there's 2 reasons I've come up with. The first is that different practitioners are often helping people at different stages of the healing process. Some people have spent years analyzing themselves. They've read every book, watched every video, done years of therapy maybe, and understand their emotions inside and out. For those people, another journaling exercise might not be what they need. They might need to stop focusing on healing all the time and start living again. Break out the healing identity. That's maybe where they're at. Then there are people who have spent their whole lives doing the opposite. They've been people-pleasing, holding everything together, and never really acknowledging what they feel in the body. For those people, journaling can be transformational because it may be the first time that they've ever allowed themselves to say, actually, that really hurt me. Or actually, I was really angry about that. Then there are people who understand emotions intellectually, but still become frightened when those emotions show up in the body, or they don't know how to feel those emotions in the body. They know they're scared, they know they're grieving, they know they're angry, but they don't know how it shows up. They don't know there's anxiety in the belly or tightness in the chest. They just panic, or they don't know it's happening. For those people, meditation can become incredibly important because the issue isn't understanding anymore. The issue is learning how to physically experience emotions safely, how to come back to the body. The second reason practitioners recommend different things is because practitioners often teach what helped them. It's not a criticism, it's human. I've done the same thing. If somebody got better by simply getting back to their life, that's naturally what they'll teach. If somebody's recovery was transformed through journaling, that's naturally what they'll recommend. If somebody learned through mindfulness and allowing that they were afraid of emotions in their body or didn't know how to feel them, and that changed everything for them, that's naturally what they'll emphasize, because that's what I'll emphasize, because that's how I got better. For me personally, I ended up needing some combination of all three, to be honest. If I had to identify the piece that fundamentally changed my relationship with symptoms, it was mindfulness and allowing, because it helped me return to the body and stop being afraid of my own experience. But that doesn't mean everybody needs the exact same thing. There will be people watching this who think, actually, mindfulness just made me over-focus on myself. What I needed was to start living again. And that's okay too. That was true for me at certain stages. So when you hear different practitioners saying different things, it doesn't necessarily mean one person is right and another person is wrong. It often means they're speaking from different experiences, different client groups, and different stages of healing. That's question number 2. Question number 3, what is journaling actually for? Is my opinion. Journaling can be useful in lots of different ways. You can use it to go back into the past and write about resentments you've never really expressed. You can use it to write unsent letters to people. You can use it to brain dump everything that's on your mind. You can use it to simply be honest about what you're thinking and what you're feeling right now. Sometimes that honesty can be incredibly simple. It can sound something like, I'm watching this video of Jonty, and some of what Jonty's saying is landing for me, but another part of me feels frustrated, and now I feel guilty for even feeling frustrated. That's also journaling. It's not always uncovering some huge childhood memory. Sometimes it's simply saying what's actually here in the order that it wants to show up. Personally, I don't see journaling as a way of fixing the past. You're not going back into the past because you're trying to change what happened. You're not trying to resolve every difficult memory or find the one insight that's finally going to cure you. I think journaling can be incredibly valuable because it teaches your system something very simple. It was okay that I felt that way. Maybe something happened when you were younger and it really hurt. Maybe somebody treated you unfairly. Maybe you felt abandoned or frightened or resentful or powerless. And maybe nobody ever validated those feelings. Maybe you didn't validate them either. Maybe you told yourself to get over it or convince yourself that it wasn't a big deal. It could have happened so little you can't even remember doing this. Journaling gives you an opportunity to finally say, of course I felt angry. Of course I felt upset. Of course I felt scared or ashamed. That doesn't mean you're blaming people or becoming stuck in your story. It means you're showing your mind and body that your feelings were never the problem in the first place. It's okay that I feel shame. It's okay that I felt stuck. A lot of people approach journaling like they're trying to dig out the thing that's finally going to fix them. And then journaling becomes desperate. It becomes another technique and another search for certainty. But the deeper value of journaling is often much simpler than that. It's honesty. It's validation. It's learning to say, this is what I felt, this is what I feel now, and it makes sense. Question 4. What's meditation actually for? For me personally, this became one of the biggest pieces of my own recovery. I had stomach pain and I had back pain. For years, I tried to think my way out of emotions. I tried to rationalize, fear, reassure myself, and talk myself out of my own experience. But I wasn't actually allowing myself to experience what was happening in the body. I was still trying to control it with the mind. Then I started doing something different with the meditation. Instead of asking myself, should I be afraid? I started asking, what does fear actually feel like? I noticed anxiety in my stomach, tightness in my chest, and a shallow breath. And I made a decision that instead of rescuing myself from this experience, I was simply going to let it be there in the body. If it stayed the same, fine. If it got bigger, fine. If it felt uncomfortable, fine. I was going to stop trying to control the fear. I was simply going to allow myself to feel the fear. Honestly, it felt very unnerving at times. Sometimes things intensified. Sometimes it felt like I was doing it wrong. Sometimes it felt worse before it felt better. Sometimes it just stayed the same. But what I began to realize was something very important. I was feeling fear in very similar places to where I was experiencing symptoms. There was fear in my stomach. There was fear in my chest. There was fear in my breathing. I suddenly realized that I hadn't just become afraid of fear itself. I had become afraid of how fear felt in my body. I didn't realize I was doing this. I'd mistakenly learned for years that these sensations were not safe. And if the body thinks certain sensations are not safe, it tries to protect us from them. Sometimes that protection can come in the form of symptoms. So meditation gave me a chance to teach my system something different. This sensation can be here. I don't need to fight it, fix it, or make it go away. And in my experience, that's why mindfulness and allowing can become so powerful. Symptoms show up in the body. So at some point, we often have to learn how to return to the body, not to force it to relax or bully it into healing, but to show it we're no longer afraid of what's happening here. I really want to go into that point a bit because I just said it's no longer afraid of what's happening here. You're allowed to feel fear of what's happening here. So let me correct that statement. You're allowed to feel fear of what's happening in the body. The whole point is symptoms purposely were showing up for me and most likely for you because they're getting you to return to the body and they're purposely triggering the very emotion that the mind and body wants you to feel. So for me, it was a lot of fear. When I'd feel stomach pain, I'd feel a lot of fear. And mindfulness taught me how to not try to talk myself out of the fear, how to relax the fear, how to distract myself or escape the fear. It taught me how to actually notice how fear feels in the body. And sometimes I'd feel that fear in the stomach. Sometimes I'd feel it in the chest. Sometimes I'd feel this restlessness. And I learned that by staying with that sensation of fear in the body, it would maybe stay the same. It maybe intensify. It maybe come and go. But what I was doing by letting it remain, just being in the body with the emotion, is I was showing the body I'm no longer trying to run away from it and go into the mind. I'm not trying to solve this fear. I'm not trying to figure it out. I'm not trying to soothe it. I'm not trying to escape it. I'm staying with it in the body. And the more that I did that, the more I taught the mind, I can be with this energy in the body, so you no longer need to create stomach pain. Mindfulness and allowing teaches you that. You may be watching this and have attempted to do some allowing and mindfulness and gone inside and been like, I'm going inside, John T, and I don't know how to feel emotions in the body. I'm not really feeling much in the body when it comes to emotions. I don't know how it feels in the breath. That's why this is a practice that often, as I always say, requires support and guidance. It often requires someone pointing out to you, hey, look, where are you feeling that anxiety? Are you feeling it in the chest? Are you feeling it in the belly? How are you experiencing this? Are you experiencing this as numbness? Can you be with numbness? Does it feel stuck? Can you feel stuck? Do you feel full of doubt? How are you experiencing doubt? I didn't do that by myself. I had a mentor point out to me, hey, look, you're feeling this in the body right now. Can you be with that? Stop trying to run away from disappointment and fear. How does it feel to experience it in the body and stay with it? That's why you have symptoms. Your symptoms are saying to you, come back to the body and feel your emotions there. Don't try and figure them out anymore. That's why mindfulness and allowing is so helpful. But let's move on to question 5. Obviously, I can create a whole video about that, and I have done. So please watch all my other videos if you haven't done so yet. Let's move on to question 5, though. So question 5 is, does it mean that journaling becomes irrelevant with mindfulness? No, not at all. I still journal. I just don't necessarily journal in the same way that I meditate, because I think these tools have different purposes. I often talk about the difference between nervous system needs and everyday life needs. Our nervous system needs us to learn how to allow fear, sadness, shame, disappointment, and uncertainty in the body, regardless of the story attached to them. So if fear is in the belly, the nervous system doesn't necessarily need us to work out the perfect reason for that, for the fear. It needs us to learn that fear in the belly is safe to feel, even if the fear feels irrational or unhelpful. But everyday life also requires something from us. Sometimes we do need to think things through. Sometimes we need to prepare a conversation. Sometimes we need to express something that's been stuck inside us for years. Sometimes writing an unsent letter to someone can be incredibly helpful. Sometimes we need to put words to things. That's where journaling can come in. Meditation isn't necessarily designed for all of that. That's where journaling has its own unique value. So I don't see meditation and journaling as competing with one another. I see them as complementing one another. Meditation helps us return to the body, and journaling can help us give language to what we've been carrying. Two different values. So they don't compete with each other, they complement each other. Meditation allows you to feel emotions. Let's give an example. So let's say as an example, you find yourself really afraid at the prospect of starting a new job, okay? And journaling will help you rationalize that fear and say, you know what? It's going to be okay. I've gone through these moments before and I'll get through those moments again. And it makes sense I'm afraid, but also I'm going to get through this. Journaling can help you with that. Meditation, on the other hand, can help you not try and work out the fear, not try and reframe it, not try and soothe it, just feel it. It doesn't matter that this fear is irrational and I've started new jobs before and I'm going to be fine. That's what journaling can help you reframe. Meditation, you do the opposite almost. You just let yourself feel fear in the body, even if it's irrational, even if it's unhelpful. It doesn't matter why the fear is here. It can be here in the body. They're not competing with each other. They're complementary. They feel like the opposite thing that you're attending to, but they both have value. Of course, the sun is shining in my face as I'm doing a video, but let's move on to question 6. So, question 6, what if one of these tools stops working? I hear this all the time. Journaling helped me for 6 months and now it doesn't. Meditation worked for a while and now my symptoms are back. I got better by getting on with my life and now everything's flared up again. The first thing I want to say is this. It doesn't mean you're back to square one. It doesn't mean you failed. There's lots of reasons for supposed setbacks. And it doesn't mean the tool was wrong. It might simply mean that your needs have changed. Maybe journaling gave you emotional validation that you desperately needed, but now you're using it to analyze yourself. Maybe meditation helped you feel fear in the body, but now something bigger is moving through you and you need more support alongside it, or you just need to get on with life a bit more. Maybe getting back to life helped you stop revolving everything around symptoms and healing, but now something stressful has happened and your system needs care. This is where flexibility becomes so important, because life is not going to stop being life. Meditation can't prevent difficult things from happening. Journaling can't stop grief from existing. There are going to be issues at work. There's going to be difficulties in relationships. There's going to be stress with our families. People are going to pass away. There's going to be uncertainty and there's going to be change. None of us can escape that. So when something big happens, it makes sense that your body responds. It makes sense that symptoms can become more intense again. Sometimes I speak about emotions on a spectrum. Maybe you've become very good at allowing a 4 out of 10 fear or even a 6 out of 10 fear. Then something happens in your life and suddenly there's an 8 out of 10 fear moving through you. And the old way of meditating doesn't seem to touch it anymore. Not because meditation has stopped working, but because you're now being asked to allow something bigger, deeper, 8 out of 10 fear. Or maybe you need more support alongside what's going on in your life. Or maybe you're not being asked to go deeper at all. Maybe what your system needs isn't another meditation. Maybe it needs rest right now. Maybe it needs a conversation. Maybe it needs time. Maybe it needs you to stop trying so hard for a little while. Time is often on your side in this process. Something where support and guidance can help. If something big is happening in your life, maybe your body simply needs a few days, a few weeks, or however long it needs to move through it. You don't need to panic and decide that everything has gone wrong. You might simply need support while life is doing what life does. Question number 7. Should I also get on with life? Absolutely. At least to the extent that you really can right now. And that's a really important distinction, because getting back to life means something different depending on which stage you're at. If you're still at a stage where you're going to work, you're seeing friends, and you're generally functioning, but there's some pain, getting back to life might mean doing more of the things you've been avoiding. But if you're bedbound, then getting back to life might simply mean going from your bed to the kitchen. That counts as well. Outside of meditation, journaling, therapy, and all of the inner work, there usually does need to be some element of reconnecting with your life, because one of the unfortunate things that happens when symptoms become chronic is that we forget what normal means. Every sensation feels important. Every twinge feels significant. Every flare-up feels like evidence that something has gone wrong. We become hypervigilant and start paying attention to every little thing that our body does. But bodies have sensations all the time. Bodies ache, tighten, fluctuate, and do strange things. Part of healing is gradually rebuilding trust in that. Meditation and journaling can help us trust ourselves internally, and getting back to life helps us trust ourselves through lived experience externally. It can be a really difficult bit, because often when we're trying to get back to something we've been avoiding for a while, there will be a lot of fear around it. Maybe it's getting back to the gym, maybe it's getting back to dating, maybe it's your career, maybe it's seeing people socially again, maybe it's eating a food that you haven't eaten for years because you've become convinced that that food is dangerous. That was my journey. The first time you start to do these things again, your body might react. You might feel anxious. Symptoms might increase. Emotions might become really unnerving. And part of you might immediately say, see, that proves I shouldn't be doing that again. But often that isn't evidence that the thing is dangerous. It's evidence that you're reacclimatizing to getting back to life. You're learning how to be with something again. You're exposing your nervous system to an experience that has come to associate with fear. So maybe you go to a social event and feel a bit overwhelmed afterwards. It doesn't mean socializing is going to be dangerous forever. Maybe you eat a food that your stomach feels is weird. That doesn't mean that food is going to be dangerous forever. Maybe you go on a date and feel loads of uncertainty and vulnerability. That doesn't mean dating is unsafe forever. Although maybe dating can always be difficult, but that's a separate point. The point is that we build trust over time. We move towards life. We see what comes up. We allow ourselves to feel what comes up. and then we gently try and do it again. It doesn't have to be a rip the plaster off approach or band-aid for my American listeners. It can be gradual, it can be slow, it can be incredibly gentle. But some version of getting back to life is usually part of the healing process, because we're not just trying to feel safe in meditation, we're trying to feel safe in life itself. And certainly, depending on what stage you're at, there's also a time where we learn to move aside from the healing identity. And that is also about getting back to life. We learn that actually maybe I'm not healing anymore. Maybe I'm normal, and actually I can get on with life in a way where I'm not even considering that anymore. I'm still meditating and journaling because it's a great antidote to modern life. It's a great way to feel. But maybe now it's time for me to drop the healing identity. If that applies to you and you understand what I mean, then you will. If you're not quite sure what I mean by that, then leave that aside. That's maybe for a different stage for you. But that's also important in terms of getting back to life at a certain stage. But let's go on. So question number 8, or we're almost at the end. What if none of these things are working? It's a really important question, because I know there'll be people watching this thinking, John T, I've tried meditation. I've tried journaling. I've tried getting back to life. I've done courses. I've worked with therapists. I've done all of this and I'm still not getting better. I really want to say this carefully. There's always something. I don't mean that in a dismissive way. I don't mean that you've missed something obvious. I mean, often there is some state of being that's asking for your attention, and without realizing it, you're still trying to fix your way out of it. It could be that there's uncertainty. It could be that there's catastrophizing. It could be that there's numbness. It could be that there's boredom. It could be a feeling of being stuck. Stuckness is a really big one, because so many people feel stuck and immediately decide that means they're failing, going backwards or doing the process incorrectly. And only when you see someone one-on-one that understands this, they'll tell you stuckness itself can be something that needs to be allowed. It feels incredibly counterintuitive because every part of you wants to get out of stuckness. Of course it does. It can feel horrible. But sometimes the practice becomes, can I let this stuck feeling just stay here? Can I let the fear that comes with the feeling of being stuck be here? Can I let the sadness or anger also be here? The same thing can apply to numbness. The same thing can apply to boredom. The same thing applies to nothingness. Sometimes the thing we think is evidence that the practice isn't working is actually the exact thing that the practice is inviting us to be with. It can be really difficult to see this by ourselves. That's why we need support. I've said so many times on this. It's why we need mentorship, because none of this was really meant to be done in complete isolation. We live in a culture that encourages hyper-independence. We're taught that the strongest person in the room is the one who can do everything on their own. But I don't actually think that's true. I don't think the best version of being human is someone who never needs support. I think we need people. I think we need mirrors. I think we need guidance and community. We need someone who can sometimes see the thing that we're simply too close to see for ourselves. I still need this from people. For me personally, I was told for years there could be an emotional component to my stomach pain and to my back pain. But I didn't believe it. I thought I was calm. I didn't think there was anger. It's only when I started working with a mentor and IFS therapy that I really began to understand what it meant to acknowledge what was there in the body and allow it to exist in the body. This mentor of mine at the time, he helped me understand what it meant to be with anger, how it meant to feel it in the body, how to be with stuckness, how to be with shame, how to be with fear. He helped me understand when to pause, when to get back to life, when not to turn to meditation and into another obsession. That guidance mattered because I wasn't taught this stuff at school. I wasn't taught it by the wider culture. Most of us simply aren't taught how to be with ourselves, how to navigate through life. So if you've tried these tools and they don't seem to be working, it may not mean that you're broken. It may mean you need a different type of support. It may mean you need some guidance. It may mean you need somebody who can help you understand how to apply these tools to your specific nervous system and your specific circumstances right now. The reason I always recommend IFS therapy, obviously, is because it was incredibly powerful for me, and of course I have a bias, but please find the person that resonates with you. It may be me, it may not be me, and it may be someone else entirely. I went through a handful of therapists before I found the one that really landed for me, so please don't give up. Question 9, what should I actually do? So if you're at the beginning of this journey, start experimenting, learn the tools, try meditation, try journaling, explore therapy, please. Begin gently getting back to life. See what resonates, see what feels supportive, see where you get stuck and where you need help. When I first started this process, the first thing I really did was therapy. I was already meditating, but not in the way that I eventually came to meditate. And not in the way that I now teach meditation, through allowing. At first, I used to meditate to relax. There was nothing wrong with that, but I wasn't yet using meditation to learn how to allow fear, to allow uncertainty or shame or uncertainty or stuckness. The first thing that really helped me understand allowing was working with an IFS therapist. Then I started using journaling in a more intentional way. Then I deepened my meditation practice. And alongside all of that, I also learned how to get back to life, how to start eating foods I'd not eaten for ages. With my stomach pain, I had to decide that I didn't want to be somebody who only ate boiled chicken and rice for the rest of my life. I didn't want to be frightened of gluten or convinced that my body was fragile. I wanted to become someone who trusted that my stomach knew exactly what it was doing. It was hard at first. I wanted to trust that my body could digest food and that there wasn't anything fundamentally wrong with me. I wanted to become someone who understood that so much of what I was experiencing was connected to fear and emotions that I hadn't yet learned how to be with. So I started practicing all of it together. I just experimented with everything. And honestly, it was messy. It felt like there was progress, and then it felt like I was back to square one or backwards. I had setbacks. I doubted myself. I felt like I was doing it wrong. I had to learn how to be with uncertainty. It was 2 steps forward, 1 step back, just like it is for many people, just like it is for you maybe watching this. But mentorship helped me understand those moments weren't a hindrance to the process. They were part of the process. They were opportunities to learn how to respond differently to myself and to my life. Looking back now, I wouldn't have wanted to go through it alone at all. So practically, if you've been watching lots of videos, my videos or others, but haven't really started using these tools yet, please start. Gently and imperfectly. Start learning how to meditate, learn how to journal, learn how to get back to life in whatever way is available to you right now. You don't need to do any of this perfectly. You just need to begin building a different relationship, with yourself. And if you need a helping hand, I have lots of meditation videos for free on this channel that can help you get started, and lots of different videos. If you'd like more support, you can also join our pain relief community for free using the link in the description below. And if you'd like to discuss where you're at and whether working together might be helpful, you can also book a complimentary call with me. I'll leave all of those links in the caption below. And as always, as we come to the end of the video, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Where are you at with your meditation? Where are you at with your journaling? Are you trying to get back to life? Have any of these tools helped you? Have any of them stopped working? Let me know below, because I know your experience will help somebody else reading through those comments, at least our replies back and forth. Just remember, meditation can matter, journaling can matter, therapy can matter, getting back to life matters, but the deeper skill we're really trying to develop is learning how to listen to what we need right now and having the flexibility to respond to that. That's really what becoming your own doctor is all about. So thank you for watching. As I said, if you're watching this on YouTube, please, if you have something coming up for you, even if it's anger towards me, please just write it in the comments. Even if you disagree with everything, please write it in the comments. We can all get through this together. If you're watching this in my community, please share your thoughts, your questions, and your story below. Looking forward to hearing from all of you.